fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got with the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top here!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
This is the world's premier online racing simulation. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat from your home computer with the most realistic online motorsports experience you'll find anywhere. Race virtually in the world's biggest events with officially licensed series, cars, and tracks. From the high banks of Daytona to the blistering speeds of Indianapolis, the dirt of Eldora to the world's most legendary road courses. It's all here, and with more than 180,000 people just like you already driving, you'll always have someone to race. Ready to get behind the wheel? Sign up at iRacing.com to get started.
Welcome one and welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again for the Majors Series, the international region. We're going racing for the 9th round of the championship for the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring. A fantastic circuit, this Red Bull Ring. Definitely one of the new classics of Formula One, and of course we will be racing the Mercedes W12, the modern spec Formula One car, for a grand total of 71 laps around this amazing track. To bring it to you all live here on SimSpeed TV is myself, Reese Gardner, with Dan Yeaman alongside me in the commentary box. Well, Dan, I've been looking forward to this one for quite some time. I do love a good old F1 race, and the Red Bull Ring is certainly a great place to hold one.
I think it should be a good combination to keep our eyes posted and feasted upon this evening. Thank you indeed for that introduction, Reese, and welcome to all of us joining, or for myself to you all joining us live tonight, or if you're joining us afterwards, thanks to the stream replay later on. So here is, of course, the Red Bull Ring. Obviously had various names over its life. A1GP Ring, once upon a time in the early 2000s, back when that was a thing, but it certainly has had a much longer history than that. But as we know it here and now, this is what we have to play with today. 8, 9, 10 turns, it depends on what track map you go by around here, as to whether the kink up the hill counts as a corner, which in this case it does, whether the kink after Schlossgold counts as a corner. According to iRacing, it does and does not simultaneously. Schrodinger's corner, anyone, I guess, there. But this should be a fantastic venue. High speeds, 4.3 kilometers in length, and plenty of flow to maintain around here, Reese, and plenty of DRS as well tonight for these W12 AMG F1 cars to utilize as well, which will make for some interesting options when it comes to passing tonight.
Yeah, indeed. Certainly going to help things out there in these in this particular spec of F1 car, at least. A lot of aero devices across the top of the body, but plenty of straights here on this circuit. We've got 3 DRS zones from the last corner to the first corner, then from the first corner down to turn 3 Remus, and then on the way down to Schlossgold as well. So plenty of opportunities for the drivers to make their moves in the very quick slipstream. Before we get into tonight's racing action, let's check out the championship standings as they are coming into this round. And it's been a very consistent performance over the course of the season from Sam Harper. Certainly, he's been getting some victories on the board as part of his oval racing prowess, winning the Daytona and Indy 500s. But Robert Northway has really come into his own, hasn't he, with a podium at the previous round, the World 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the 1987 NASCAR machines, and he now leads by 16 points. But Sam Harper will certainly be wanting to to narrow that championship gap. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem that he's here in the pro split tonight, so he's not going to get an opportunity to take the fight to Robert Northway tonight. Of course, drop rounds will likely come into effect, so he'll have some more chances to get back at him, but there's still plenty of close battles further back, Dan. Have a look at Dean Moll and Dan Stevens. They're only 3 points apart.
Absolutely, that's going to be a good thing to, well, good fight to keep our eyes on tonight. Both of those drivers are here in the session and gearing up to go racing, so that will shape things for us, we hope to see. There's also, you can see, as we just switch over to the sportsman class. Now, this week, it's the first time since I've joined the commentary team for the international region of the major series this year, Reese, that we haven't actually got a combined pro sportsman field. Tonight we are covering just the sportsman division this evening, but the pro division, pardon me. The sportsman championship, though, is important to obviously have a look at as well, because the lead there, a mere 2 points between Dave Trevethan and Joshua Robertson. And then, well, still 5 drivers inside 100 points, only 10 points separating P6, P7, 5 points between P8 and P9. And the fact that there's still 250 points less than covering the top 10 means that the top end of the field there in sportsman for this region for the majors this year also looking incredibly competitive as well.
Yeah, indeed. There's certainly quite a lot of competitiveness going on. It's a shame that we won't be able to see that play out live in the sportsman split. But of course, next time we go live for the Major Series, we'll bring you some information on how those results have gone. Of course, you can also go to majorsseries.com and grab the results from there if you so desire. Of course, every round of the majors supports a charity, and this time around we are supporting the Tunnels to Towers Foundation, honouring the sacrifice of firefighter Stephen Siller, who laid down his life to save others on the 11th of September 2001 during the 9/11 terrorist attacks. They honour their military and first responders as well as their families, and they provide financial support to firefighters and ambulance workers, to policemen, to military as well. So make sure to lend them your support by going to t2t.org. Well, let's see then how this goes for the drivers out here. This is certainly going to be a difficult one. The drivers have a lot to work with. Multiple tyre compounds active in this session. You must use 2 of the 3 available compounds. We've got soft, medium, and hard. And of course, there's no refueling. So you better hope that you've got enough fuel in the car to make your way through the full 71 lap distance. About 101, 102 kilos of fuel is what's required to get to the end. And we don't have a qualifying session to show you because pre-qualifying has set the grid for this race.
That's correct indeed. I'm just having a quick look at, indeed, on that point about refueling, just having a look at one of the iRacing provided setups for the full-length iRacing Grand Prix Tour series currently available on the service, and the fuel level supplied in that race is 100 kilograms to do a full-length event round this circuit. So that might be a good reference number. And I'm actually, okay, yes, that's a good point there to make indeed. So getting some information about the track history, a bit crisscrossed, but there we go. Just a note here that yes, okay, so yeah. We are advised here, fuel burn tonight around 1.4 kilograms per lap, because the cars do measure their fuel by mass, not liquid density, which converts to about 1.8 litres per lap for those who are more comfortable with the idea of using litres as a reference for fuel burn. So that means that if you go flat out, you're talking just over 100 kilograms of fuel used tonight, Reese. So the question is, how much fuel are you willing to try and undercut that by when it comes to like a matter of a kilogram or 2? Perhaps to just save a tiny bit of weight, as the less weight you carry around from the very start of the race means the less time you might lose if you can balance that out with a bit of fuel saving when traffic and the need to manage the pace and preserve the car provides you that benefit.
Yeah, if you're starting a bit further back in the field and you stand a chance to do a good bit of slipstreaming on the drivers in front of you, it might be a good idea to take a couple of kilos out of the tank. But if you're going to be up the front and in rather clear air, then it's probably a good idea not to underfuel the car. Of course, in real life, teams underfuel the cars pretty much every time because there's always the possibility of safety cars. Well, cautions are not enabled in road sessions on iRacing largely, so that's something the drivers will have to take into account. They'll be going flat out all the way through this 306-kilometre race. In terms of tyre strategy, we're expecting one stop for most of the field, and we're not too sure whether drivers will want to go for the hard compound, because of course there is a lot of pace that you give up running the harder compound. Some drivers might go for a two-stop as well, go medium, medium, soft, or medium, soft, soft. It's all up in the air, but we'll bring it all to you. This is the grid. Blake Neck is starting on pole position alongside Thomas Hinz. We've got Sam Sutton here in the championship as well, starting alongside the leader, Robert Northway. Cameron Dance and Shane Bowen will round out the top six. And just behind them, we've got new privateer Scott Newton, formerly of Apex Racing Team, starting alongside Josh Thomas. Daniel Stevens starts his MFR number 3 out of 9th place alongside his teammate Gavin Barber. We've got David Turnbull and Craig Tilson rounding out the top 12. And then we've got Alexander Sheridan in 13th place, starting alongside Dean Moll. And Middle Finger Racing's Jonathan Bean is going to round out our 15-car field here in the Pro Split. The revs are already rising, and we're going to get going here for the Austrian Grand Prix. Round 8 of the International Major Series is go, and that's a lot of wheel spin for Blake Neck off the line. He's going to lose the lead to Thomas Hinz, but it's an excellent start from both Robert Northway and Cameron Dance. Dance sweeps around the outside. A turn 1 to take the lead, gets really crossed up over the sausage curb on the exit. That means Blake Neck is going to come right back at him. It's a three-way battle for third place. Meanwhile, Northway's having to defend from Sutton and Hinz. They're not going to make it 3 wide on the first lap here. Sutton taking the wider line, and Northway spinning up the tyres on the exit might offer a chance to Sutton here to grab third place as they're side by side for the lead still. Cameron Dance has the inside for turn 4 here, but we've seen plenty of outside moves be made at this corner. Blake Neck locks up though and loses the momentum on the exit, so Cameron Dance is safe in the lead for now.
Well, that was quite a busy start there at the front of the field, but good to see everyone away cleanly apart from the wheel spin. That tripped a couple of drivers up there getting away initially, but, well, this will be the test of the drivers here now. Can the rest of the field here catch the front two? But Sam Sutton's going to go straight up the inside of Robert Northway there at the penultimate turn and get himself into P3 tonight to get back to where he'd rather start, but now got himself a 1.9 second margin to sort of take care of. Actually, 1.5 ahead to try and close down the front two, and now he's going to be the one to drag these cars along. All going well so far still for the rest of the field. They're lined up pretty closely behind him there and make their way up the hill for the second time in this race.
Of course, no DRS for the first 2 laps of a race in these cars, so they're going to have to wait until they cross the start-finish line next for more DRS, but it seems that Blake Neck doesn't need it. Getting up the inside of Cam Dance at turn 4, and there's a slight lock-up from the Kiwi behind. Blake Neck moves into the lead in car number 42. So, let's see what Dance can do from here. He's turned in a little bit early for that corner, though, and that's going to cost him a bit of momentum on the exit. Does seem like the car's trying to snap on him at the apex as well, so he might have a bit of trouble staying in touch with Blake Neck if he doesn't get into conservation mode at the moment. Drivers all starting on the medium tyre except for Jonathan Bean, who's decided to go for the hard to start things off. Look out for Bean potentially to pit late and go for a short stint on the softs at the end, or he could pit more towards the middle and go for the mediums. Medium tyre can last for about 30 laps, over 30 laps easily. It wouldn't be impossible to do the whole race on a set of mediums, but of course you have to change tyres at least once. So there is a move. Sam Sutton getting by Cameron Dance, actually, and Dance is really falling back now. DRS is enabled, though, so open comes the rear wings, and Dance is going to come back at Sutton here. Sutton not having DRS. You have to be within 1 second of the car ahead if you want to get that DRS open in the activation zone. But it looks like this is going to be an intense battle for second. Dance followed by Sutton, then the trio of Northway, Hinz and Newton.
Yeah, it's usually at the line, the gap between Cam Dance and Blake Neck ahead was just over 1 second. He almost would have had activation up the hill, but he didn't quite have it as a result of the racing that then happened immediately afterwards. That's blown the gap out to 1.5 seconds between your top two. So once again, Blake Neck gets another chance to take a breather, and this time around looks like Sam Sutton not close enough to pressure as we check in with Thomas Hinz. A bad run from Robert Northway directly ahead. They both have the DRS wide open thanks to being in the train here, but Hinz, nice run off of turn one, should keep the spot here, and he should get DRS activation once again here thanks to Sutton ahead. As Northway tried to do the long way around at turn number 3 there, Reese, and not able to make that work. He loses a spot to the number 781 of Scott Newton through turn 3 as a result.
Well, there we go. And for Thomas Hinz, he'll be wanting to catch up to Sutton pretty quickly here in time for the next DRS zone. There's Robert Northway. Literally the first time I've ever seen his face after racing against him for years. He's doing pretty good here, holding on to 6th place. Of course, losing 2 positions in the first few laps, but he can certainly come back from this. And of course, he has a championship lead to worry about as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on him. Meanwhile, coming through the last couple of corners, Cameron Dance still has DRS here. He's actually come back into
DRS range.
Yeah, got into DRS range, sorry. He's come back in touch with Blake Neck now. Looked like a bit of a slowish lap from Blake. Ended up taking 6/10 out of him on the last lap, did Cam Dance, and he's still got DRS on the way up to turn 3. So it's back on for the lead, it seems.
Yeah, that will be a pretty important thing to sort of keep our eyes on with the 3 zones back to back to back around this circuit. That will mean, of course, you get quite a lot of opportunities to use that slipstream and the drag reduction system to maximum effect here as well. Unfortunately, Reese, I've just noticed down in the bottom right of my screen, we did have 15 drivers in the server during practice, but we are down to 14 already. Dean Mole not taking the race start here. And as a result, we are now just left with the other 14 drivers here on circuit. Now, one of the other drivers who's actually taken hard tyres, there are 2, and it's actually the middle finger racing duo of Daniel Stevens and Jonathan Bean. You did obviously mention Jonathan earlier, and you can see, unfortunately, Jonathan has drifted to the back of the field and is now isolated on his own here. You can see Stevens, for the time being, in the DRS train, is hanging on for now, but we were advised, based on what other people have experienced with this car, the hard compound tyre is not very competitive, generally speaking, when it comes to pace. And even though it has the durability advantage, it's not able to make a meaningful benefit to that durability. But he seems to be doing quite nicely here is Stevens. He's got Shane Bowen and Josh Thomas directly ahead of him, and they are going back and forth for the time being. So Stevens stays right on the tail and gets that slipstream and DRS down these straights as he's quite close there into turn 4 this time by, but not able to get up the inside before the turn.
Yeah, that was a change for position at turn 3 between the 2 kinetic avatar cars of Josh Thomas and Shane Bowen. Stevens now behind Bowen. I do apologise for my error earlier of not spying that Stevens was on the hard. The colour shades are a little bit difficult to tell apart on our displays, but regardless, Stevens trying to make the hard tyre work here in the first part of the race, and with no cautions here on the roadside, he's going to have to try and make these work over a long stint. He's going to have to keep an eye out for David Turnbull behind him, though, there in that bright blue car. Meanwhile, Sutton, he's managed to get in touch with Dance and Neck at the front of the field, so it is a 3-car train here for the race lead. Dance and Sutton having DRS, and Sutton not quite on the mark when it came to opening the DRS there. Waited about half a second after the activation point to put it on, so not getting quite the full benefit of DRS there. But Dance right on the back of Northway now. Let's see if he decides to try and make a pass or sit behind and save a bit of fuel. And save tyres as well, potentially. You can see just how much the aero disturbance affects these cars. I was watching Cam through that middle section of the track, the left-hand sweepers, and he was experiencing a lot of understeer behind Blake Neck, just having trouble getting the car off the turns there, having to waste so much tyre trying to get the front end to grip up. Blake Neck on the recharge there. Of course, these are hybrid engines, 1.6 litre V6 turbo with an MGU-K attached to it. So they do have to do some harvesting at the end of the straights and also regenerate some electrical power under braking. There's so much that you need to manage in these cars.
Yeah, it's a relatively complex vehicle, that is for sure, though thankfully the systems here can be somewhat managed. I mean, I don't have a huge amount of experience in these cars, Reece, so I can't really talk from, especially when it comes to long-form racing as well. The bit of racing I have done in these has generally been the shorter sprint series that made to try and give drivers a chance to get a feel for the cars in a slightly less strenuous environment. But yeah, so certainly a few things to deal with, but thankfully it's not too overwhelming unless you want to get into the minutiae of what's available to you in the cockpit. On board here with Thomas Hinz, and also got a chance to check out pedal cam from Mr. Hinz here in the number 53 machine. You can see a couple of times they're just tapping the brake a little bit.
Nick! Sorry, Nick just had a big slide out of turn 1, just avoided getting into the tyre bundles. He's given up the lead to Cam Dance. Sorry about that.
That's a good point. I've missed it as well. Unfortunately, I'll have to hopefully actually go back and have a look at exactly what happened to him there. But yes, that's probably quite... Oh, I've just rewound myself to see what happened. And yeah, no wonder you called that one out, Reece. That was a hair-raising moment there. In fact, I cannot believe that he's almost saved that one. He goes back to the race lead at Schlossgold there, gets past, but your top three are now well and truly nose to tail. But goodness gracious, that deserves a replay. Thanks to Virtual Racing School. What you did on the exit, up and over the sausage, and destination left. Actually net codes into the fence and the tyres pop off for a second, but wowee. That car snapped violently to put him in the fence, and he was just able to hang on to it and get it straightened back out in time before that became something disastrous. Reflexes of a cat to make sure that one didn't go astray, but, well, there you go. First driver almost coming unstuck at turn 1. Let that be a lesson to respect the sausage on corner exit.
Yeah, you could see that Nick was a lot further away from it that time. Cameron Dance in DRS, have a look at the amount of speed it gives you, but it seems that Dance is not being as aggressive over the curbs as Blake Neck is. He's keeping it on the black stuff, as there is a change for position. It looks like Shane Bowen having to give up, David Turnbull. Getting past now Daniel Stevens as well. Goodness gracious. We did see that Stevens was under threat from Turnbull a few laps ago. It does seem now that he's lost another position there to Shane Bowen. David Turnbull now up into 8th place. Stevens trying to hold on around the outside of Schlossgold here versus Bowen, and he's going to have the inside for the next left-hander, but Bowen on the medium tyres will have a little bit more grip available to him, and he ends up getting ahead before the second of the left-handers around here. So Daniel Stevens now is going to have to get into some tyre conservation mode. This is how they were when they crossed the line last lap. Stevens in DRS getting up the inside of Shane Bowen at turn 1, but things went a little bit awry for Stevens at the exit of the hairpin. Turnbull saw the opportunity and decided to jump up around the outside almost into the braking zone, well ahead, and then Stevens with a big slide in the middle of the corner had to take to the runoff area. Meanwhile, we'll have to go back to live pictures because there's been a change for the lead here. Cameron Dance getting ahead of Blake Neck and seeing the opportunity diving up the inside is Sam Sutton. So Blake Neck from first to third in a matter of a single corner as Scott Newton and Thomas Hinz are now side by side on the exit of Schlossgold. It looks like Newton is going to win that battle. Up 3 places for Newton. Same story for David Turnbull in 8th, but Cameron Dance gaining the most places in the race so far. Up 4 and now into the race lead. Still defending here from Daniel Stevens is Shane Bowen. It looks like Stevens is managing to get some good pace out of those hard tyres, but he's not able to find a way past.
Yeah, mostly there, but just needs another 1% if the tyres can deliver that here at this point in the race. 12 laps in, even though it's relatively warm conditions today in virtual Austria. 30 degrees air temperature and 47 degrees Celsius track temperature, I should add, for this one as we're approaching gone past virtual 3 o'clock here for this race today. So certainly the kind of little wobble there is, in fact, that's a wing that's just come off the front of one of those cars. But
I think that might have been
a glitch
code.
because
yes,
that seems to have behaved. So once again, as There we go. Fight on for the lead. This time Sam Sutton wants to go at leading this race. He's going to try the outside of turn 5, but Cam Dance sticks it in there with the overlap and hangs on for now. But, well, these three back and forth, they all clearly want some of the clean air, it seems. It's nice being able to lead and not have the front wash out underneath you through the turns, I might suggest, based on the way they're racing to get in front and stay in charge of the race.
Indeed. Scott Newton, meanwhile, we saw him defending from Thomas Hins, and it looks like Hinsey is going to have DRS here down the front straight. When you're in a pack like this, it's so hard to get away because DRS gives you such an advantage. Hinsey obviously waiting for the next straight and a proper outbraking opportunity down this stretch towards turns 2 and 3. And have a look at the amount of pace he gains. He moves to the inside in the braking zone, gets up the inside of Scott Newton. Newton gives him room, and oh goodness, they almost made contact on the exit there, didn't they? And this is going to give an opportunity to Robert Northway to try and get 5th place back. But can Northway hold it round the outside of Schlossgold? Late on the brakes? No. And Northway actually went a bit deep there. Almost affords an opportunity for Northway to do the over-under. But he's going to be on the outside for the left-handers, so Northway is going to stay ahead. And this is giving Thomas Hins a little bit of breathing space, the advantage that he would want, and he might be able to focus now in this clear air of trying to catch up to the top 3.
Maybe, but of course, 1 second is a decent amount of time, at least visually as well, around this circuit, as that was the move for the race lead up at Remus there on lap number 13. Sam Sutton gets himself ahead and now commands the race for a moment, but once again, out of turn 1, Dance and Neck with the flap open thanks to DRS, and watch them close once again, and this time Dance is going to stay in line. In fact, they all stay in line for a change, so this time no one wants to go on through here at turn 3. We'll see, though, does Dance go for the move down into Schlossgold and to try and lead through the mid-sector of the circuits? No, he does not once again. So now we're getting into a bit of mind games. Tyre locking. Next in the gravel there, actually. He's going to drop off the back of these two at that rate. Indeed, he will now fall into a pocket of his own air, unfortunately, there. Hins now given a chance to potentially close in. And yes, he is not that far off. 1.4 seconds. He needs to find another half second to pick up the advantage of the DRS now for himself on the 3rd place driver. A chance to look at that again on the replay and just see in a bit too hot there, Reese, and then into the key litter and a slow, almost, well, looks quite a bit slow there, trying to get back out and up to speed once again.
So, gap at the line, Blake Neck 1.6 seconds ahead of Thomas Hins, so still under no danger of getting into the DRS range of Hins, but now he's in a little bit of no man's land here. This is on board from Sam Sutton. We'll be able to see what happened here. Look at how close Cameron Dance got. It was so close to contact. In fact, there might have been an ever so slight tap there, but that shows you how closely these guys are racing. Dance not electing to try and go for any big moves on Sutton. I think the opening salvo of laps afforded drivers a chance to sort of assert themselves and, you know, okay, I can make passes here, I can try and get myself into a position, but now that the race is in a rhythm here, they're realizing that there's not much profit to going for moves at every single corner, regardless of how powerful the DRS is, because well, your rival is likely to just catch back up and pass you again.
Yeah, actually, I was very curious to see is that last time around, Thomas Hins was in behind Newton going up to turn 1. He just didn't bother opening DRS at all, despite having the activation lights clear as day there, waiting for him to hit the button to open the flap, and instead waiting there for the exit of turn 1 before activating his DRS to give himself a little bit of space there into the corner to get the run right, as up to turn 3 on board with Robert Northway here. But you see all the way back down into first gear for Northway, which is a little unusual. In fact, he's a little late there on the activation to the DRS out of the corner. Probably another half second or so there for him, where maybe just a little bit focused perhaps on making sure he got traction. As back to Daniel Stevens and Shane Bowen we go, Reese, and Stevens still trying to get through and still not yet able to get the job done here.
Yeah, he does outbrake into Schlossgold, but tighter line through the corner. Manages to straighten out the exit, though, and get a good run out of the corner. But diving back up the inside is Bowen. These guys have been fighting each other for most of the race so far. And I could see that Stevens was harvesting quite early down the straights. He might be using a little bit too much of his electrical power, which is going to be costing him in straight line speed at the end of these straights. I was talking about management a little earlier. The fact that you are able to modify the deployment of the MG UK. You can go aggressive for a few laps, but you're going to drain your battery as Stevens goes around, manages to almost keep it out of the wall. Ever so slight contact, but thank goodness he's managed to escape that with minimal damage. Maybe with the amount of time lost from this, he might end up going to the medium tyre and potentially making this a two-stopper to try and get some of that time back.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, that will have made things, you can see, just get a little unsettled on corner exit with the power down. And, well, yeah, just gets away with that one in terms of the not hitting the fence. But well, obviously, yeah, that does now mean he's well out of position. Strategy. Oh, boy. Now, I saw a dive bomb from Robert Northway and Thomas Hinz at Schlossgold while we were on replay, looking at Stevens there. Now, has that's what's caused... Yes, indeed, a mechanical black flag meatball for the number 53 machine. And you can see the inside of the wing there looks a little turned up, I think, on the front end of that car. And
yeah. Looks like the right rear was definitely contacted by Northway thanks to this dive here at Schlossgold. Look at this. Northway tries to dive into the inside, but you see, yeah, Hinsey gets smacked on the way in. That has given him a mechanical black flag, but he's been able to get out of the pits quickly by using his spare car. Everyone gets one in the Majors series. Hinsey, unfortunately, has been forced to use his, with still the majority of the race to go.
Yeah, that's certainly not what he was hoping for. Check it out from Northway's on board. And yeah, flicks across, but just doesn't quite get there in time. Incredibly, looks to have gotten away with that on his end. And, well, that now puts Hinz well off sequence, as he'll have to do a longer than perhaps expected or preferred stint here on the mediums to keep it a two-stop race for him tonight. He's just over halfway through what we thought would be the target stint length for these medium tyres. And in fact, possibility here that you could, if you can manage the soft tyres for 20 laps or thereabouts, if you can get 30 off the mediums here tonight race, then that will mean 2 sets of softs for this race could do. But Hinz now almost certainly locked into running these mediums as long as he can before making his compound swap later on.
Well, back to the race lead. Dance still harassing the back of Sutton, and thanks to this, Blake Neck has been afforded an opportunity to catch back up. He's only about 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds even behind Dance now, and has been running about 0.3 faster than these two over the course of the last couple of laps. 107.9s for both Sutton and Dance, but down to a 107.68 for Blake Neck. So battle for the lead, certainly not over. Any of these three guys could potentially win at the end of the day if they hold on. They'll be coming up to their first bit of traffic very shortly, though, because Jonathan Bean in the MFR machine pulling over on the exit of turn 1 to let these guys go. Seems that the hard tyres are definitely not working to his favour, but he'll try and go as long as he possibly can. Lets Neck go by on the way down to turn 3 as well. Dance, big wheel spin on the way out of turn 3, and he will be able to catch back up to Sutton thanks to DRS, but still, it's another opportunity lost. But I think that Dance is in a pretty good position at the moment. You know, he can afford to lift and coast a little bit, save a bit of fuel, save his tyres. He is remaining very close to Sam Sutton, but I think going for the lead, going for a pass, probably wouldn't be the wisest decision at this point. He might want to get it done in the pits.
Yeah, looks to be fairly happy running here in second place for the time being as we zoom on into that steering wheel here. Now, I believe, just to ensure that we can't accidentally give away anything, that ERS setting the 3 attack number there is a fixed value here on the broadcast and our spectator observer cameras. As you can see also, actually part of the thing is also you can actually see that the battery level is apparently static at 67%, which I can assure you is certainly not the case for these actual drivers, which means that unfortunately not able to glean any information from the ERS settings, but we can confirm that yes, as of course with the rev lights, the ERS lights there are active and functioning correctly. So we can use those if we take these T-cam and over-shoulder shots while we're racing on board here with these drivers to get an idea of how things are going for them during the race here, Reese.
Yes. So a single green light on the wheel means that you were within a second at the detection point, and then all 4 green lights on the left side of the display will light up when you're in the DRS zone. Actually, it'll be 2 lights when you enter the DRS zone and 4 lights when you activate. So they pass the detection point there. That's 1 green light, 2 green lights, and then to 4 as Dance elects not to activate DRS on the front straight.
Doing what Hinsey did a couple of laps ago. Don't use it there because you're so close that it would disrupt the run into turn 1, and then open the flap on the exit. So it's the rare strat of not wanting to pass at the first possible opportunity. And I mean, yes, after seeing the real life Austrian Grand Prix, of course, once again for 2022, only last weekend. Obviously, you see a lot of drivers, they'll just use the DRS every time and just lift and coast early, even with it open. Whereas, the guys here in the sim opting for a slightly different plan of just don't use the DRS and just preserve a more typical run in the slipstream up behind the car ahead of you. Now, Hines has done it. We're now seeing Cam Dance do it. I'll be curious to see if any other drivers attempt or choose to employ that kind of a plan. As now we switch back to Blake Neck, who's just outside that 1 second gap.
Just within for Cameron Dance.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
He's in.
There we go.
Here we go. He's gotten the magic button, so this will give him a good chance. Open the flap, Blake.
Open the flap, Blake. No, apparently he's just looking to keep things a bit more draggy
trouble for Scott Newton at the end of the front straight.
Oh, yes. Oh, that is big. He's in the wall and he's had to escape back to the pits. Looks like he caught the curb on the exit, and that's resulted in a big snap, and he's put the rear end into the wall. That has destroyed the rear of the car. He's had to tow back into the pits. We'll get a view of it on the Virtual Racing School replay. Watch this as he comes across the curb. Whoop, there we go, just catching the dirt that's been thrown up there, and the right rear gets taken off. It's a big shame for Scott Newton, who was doing incredibly well in this one. Second driver so far to have to take a fast repair. The other driver to take a fast repair, Thomas Hinz, checking back in with him briefly. He's made his way up to what is now 8th place. He passed Alexander Sheridan on the last lap, and you can see Blake Neck now is catching up to Cameron Dance and Sam Sutton here for the lead.
Presumably, I'm curious to see, is this a strategy here not to use the DRS to point down the front straight? Now this time he does activate, so interesting one-off moment there. Maybe just wasn't expecting DRS and was thinking it would come a little bit later on, but oh well, they're all using it up the hill to turn 3, so that's the most obvious point of this all. And so approaching the point in this race, where if they can make the soft tyres last, and they've got a 2-stop strategy in mind tonight, where they'll probably look to come off these medium tyres, and if they can undercut and maximise some soft tyre pace advantage, that will be interesting to watch here. But all staying in line for now still as they come down to Schlossgold once again. And the other thing to maybe also have a look at is the battle for P4 currently, because this front 3 have closed back up once again, but Robert Northway, the man who's survived out of the guys in that next group, has now been joined by Joshua Thomas 7/10ths back, and they're only about 7 to 8 seconds off the race leaders as well. So these guys here would need to find some pretty impressive turn of pace to close on into the leaders, but they're doing a nice job here rounding out our top 5 at this stage, Reece.
Yeah, and just behind them in 6th place, David Turnbull has been making tracks. He's up 5 places now and has certainly worked his way forward nicely. But the top 3 are all back together now. Blake Neck just in the the range here for Danson Sutton. Speaking of Thomas Hinds, meanwhile, he looks like he's making another move up the inside of Shane Bowen down the front straight, and he will get that done into the first corner. Bowen doesn't fight it that hard, certainly recognises that there is a bit of pace difference between them at this stage. Hinsey on much fresher, soft tyres now at this stage. Northway, meanwhile, gets past up the inside of turn 4 by Josh Thomas and gives him a good amount of room on the exit, and that is move done for the sportsman champion of last season, moving up into the pro class for this season.
Yes, indeed. Some good moves there from him. Now, interesting to note is that actually just dropped Joshua Thomas go left in the chat. I'm wondering here, any signs of a pit entry? Yes, there we go. Our first driver to take a scheduled pit stop in this race, end of lap number 25. It's going to be the 386 of Joshua Thomas. Now, this is a little bit short of what we were thinking for the mediums if you then plan to run softer compounds in this race. It may be that you need to run the mediums again here if you're planning a two-stopper. Let's see what Thomas does here in the box. Up on the jacks.
He's on the
and
softs.
He is going to the soft compound here. So this is going to be interesting to pay attention to for the next couple of laps. Indeed. Actually, interesting, though. I see on my timing overlay has gone softs, but the car model has stayed yellow for mediums.
Okay, so that's a little bit of an error on our end. We do apologise for that. Hell, even iRacing is saying that he's on the softs, but you can clearly see that his tyres are the yellow marked medium tyre. So looks like there's a little bit of an issue there that we're not too aware of, as that's a big move for Sam Sutton from the lead of the race down into the pit lane. He's seen that Thomas has gone in and has decided, well, maybe it's time for me to try my luck, and we'll see what he can do from there. Blake Neck and Cameron Dance continue on, and I would presume for at least one more lap. This offers Sam Sutton the chance to get a bit of a tyre undercut on these two and extend that gap to the lead. If he can get to over a second, Sutton, it seems, is staying on the medium tyres here. He's managed to... actually, my timing display is showing that he hasn't changed the tyres. I think he must have, obviously. But, okay, seems we're not quite as on top of the tyre game as we thought we would be, Dan.
I mean, yes, let me see my timing thing. Can it tell me exactly what they've run? Yes, it can. It can tell me tyre stints. I'll flick that on, and it's telling me that Sam Sutton, fresh set of mediums here, and about to complete his first lap on them. As your two leaders stay out for the time being, they're going to run their set of tyres here a little bit longer. So this is now possibly going into a crossover point where if they can run this opening set of tyres a fraction longer, they might be confident running softs at the end of the race, whereas Sutton has opted for a set of mediums, perhaps just the safer bet at this point in the race to give him a bit more range at the end, or confidence at the end, to push hard once we get to that phase of the race. He's in behind David Turnbull here, an inside DRS range, so have a good run, you'd think, down to turn 3, but you'll have to close here right at the end of the straight, Reese, and he's not closing as quickly as I would have thought, perhaps. No, he won't get there. He'll have to set it up for Schlossgold, which then again, being the third DRS zone, that's not so bad. In fact, you get a nice run off Remus and more or less get the job done here on the exit of the turn at the start of the DRS zone.
Yes, indeed. He was on the harvesting, I think, a little bit earlier than Turnbull was, so not quite as easy as he thought it would be, but he does get up the inside at Schlossgold. Moves up into what is now 4th place. Dance and Northway still avoiding the pits. This is an interesting decision from them to go long. We'll compare times as Sutton will complete his first proper lap, yes, with an overtake, but we'll see how he compares to Dance and Neck, who have set low 107s on this lap. It's a 108.1 for Robert Northway there as Neck goes for the lead on Cameron Dance, moves up. Good stuff there from him, and doesn't look like it's going to be fought too hard. 107.2 for Sam Sutton with making that move on David Turnbull, so his pace is looking good there on the fresh mediums.
But not as good as the front two, Reese, despite the fact that he's come into the pits. The two leaders that he was racing were faster last lap around. A 107.120 for Blake Neck and a 107.063 despite no DRS. I think Cam Dance opted to go for the ERS dump and absolutely put as much into that car as he could there. He slots now in behind Blake Neck. You can see the car continuing to harvest and regenerate as much as it can. He's actually dropped a long way off. In fact, has he dropped all the way out of... he has dropped all the way out of DRS range. Yeah. So that's actually... Oh, no. He just back in range there at the end of the lap as... Ooh, Shane Bowen slow on track. Just been passed by teammate Josh Thomas. Because Thomas is obviously on fresh tyres, but Bowen is still going and looks to be hurting a bit for pace on his opening set of mediums, unlike the leaders so far. And so there we go. Cam Dance's next lap around a 108.9. So absolutely dumped everything in to lap 28 of the race.
Oh, there
29,
we go.
I should say.
Sutton's setting a 106.8. He's definitely up to pace now. He did pick up an off-track on that lap, so it doesn't officially count as the fastest lap of the race yet. But certainly that is the pace that he is looking for. So Blake Neck and Cameron Dance, I think, might have to respond soon. Otherwise, they'll have to just keep going and go for a short stint on softs at the end of the race. Well, we've got a replay coming up for Daniel Stevens, apparently. Something's gone wrong for him at turn 1. And, oh dear, caught the sausage curb.
Yep, still going on the set of hard tyres. He started the race on trying to make this alternate strategy work. Unfortunately now, if he wasn't already in a world of his own when it comes to a track, well, drivers on track, he's now very much isolated and a handful of seconds down from being lapped at this point in the race, unfortunately. So going to have to rely on some serious miracle work to get back into it, I think, at this point. Reese, unfortunately for him, as yeah, your race leaders continue to lap now on to lap 31 on their opening set of mediums here. Really trying to stretch them. Last lap is around for them both now in the mid-107s. Where are you, Sam? Sutton, a 108.1 for him last time around. So I think, once again, Sutton responding to the fastest lap from Cam Dance, dumped the ERS in the car, but then just like Cam Dance, as a result of that, has to then spend a lap recharging. And that means that the lap times are going to start going up and down like a yo-yo if they keep going for this attack and then build and attack and build ERS deployment strategies.
This is going to be an intriguing race, and we're just about to come up to the halfway point. Turnbull and Hinz battling for 5th and 6th. Don't forget, Hinsey just taking his spare car about 13 to 14 laps ago, and on a fresh set of mediums as a result. Oh, goodness, he is really pushing it, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he was. I think maybe the person... Actually, it might have been that. Cam Dance had an identical moment at turn 1. Got up on the sausage curb with the left side tyres as Blake Nex overshot Remus and had to drive all the way around the sausage on the exit of the turn there. So both of our leaders are really continuing to push here and burn up what remains of their tyres as long as they can, but starting to get into a bit of a danger zone, it would seem, if they're going to start pushing the limits like that. I mean, yes, you said approaching the halfway point, where surely now these guys are getting into the point where they can think about coming in for their first stop, as we go to the slow motion replay on board with the 53 of Hinz here through turn 6. I actually missed this because I was watching what I was seeing with Cam Dance's car. And yeah, no wonder you said, ooh, that's a little snap and a half there to worry about. And, well, thankfully, keeps the car straight and on the narrow otherwise for now. And try and get past Turnbull here and get himself back into the top 5. Your top 2 are still circulating here. 32 laps now on their current set of tyres, but they're now dropped into the 108s. Both of them. I think possibly an ERS build lap for them both. Try and get as much ready for an in-lap where they can dump as everything they can in, but Dance has dropped out of DRS range to the tune of nearly 2 seconds, and he's dropping even more through the corners. This is what happened last time around for Blake Neck at Remus, just a little deep and out past the curbs there. Gets away with just a 1x off track. Has Dance overdriven this car to the point that the tyres are, well, they're not gone completely just yet, but they're certainly complaining, because he's now over 2 seconds back as the next driver down onto the lane is going to be, where are you, good sir? Craig Tilson in 11th place in the 022. He will say enough is enough, as that's a slow-moving David Term, and he's dropped in behind Josh Thomas. So unfortunately, the 702 going backwards there for a moment. Looks like a bit of a mistake up at Remus there, Reese.
Yeah, looks like it. Very unfortunate there for David. He was doing a really good race up to this point as Blake Neck now is into the lane. We'll get a replay of what happened to Turnbull, and then we'll focus on how the stop goes for Blake Neck on the exit of Remus. Gets over the curb, and wow, yeah, I think that's a combination of instability over the curb and the tyres being worn. Neck, meanwhile, comes out of the pits, and he is on the soft tyre, we're being told. Of course, it is showing up as the medium there on the broadcast, but rest assured, he is on the softs. So we shall see then what he does from here. It looks like, depending on how the pace goes for Neck, he might be committing to making another stop at the end here. Double stint on softs to the end, potentially.
Yeah, I think that's probably the play, given he's gone 33 laps. He doesn't need to do even 20 laps apiece on his on 2 stints to the end on softs. So now surely Cam Dance responds from the race lead. No, Cam Dance is still going. He's going to make it at least 34 laps on his... In fact, no, it'll be 35 laps before he comes down the lane. He's now settling into 108.1s, which is a second a lap slower than Sam Sutton currently. And we see that Sutton has come out about to a second and a half clear of Neck for the effective race lead. So, well, he's got 8 laps on his tyres already, Reese has Sutton, so he will be a little disadvantaged in the end part of the race, but I think surely the plan here is to try and make up the disadvantages now with, of course, going to those softs here to the end for Cam Dance. But we have to wait for him to come down the pit lane to confirm that thought.
So when does Cam decide to come into the pit lane is the question. I would think with the pace that he is dropping at the moment, it would be certainly an interesting decision to continue staying out at this point. I'm predicting he might come in at the end of this lap. We'll see what line he takes here coming out of the penultimate corner, whether he goes tight and decides to come into the lane. No, he is staying out once again. Cam obviously quite confident that there's still some pace left in those medium tyres. He'll want to try and lose as little time as possible, not go for a 2-stop, because 36 laps of this race, 35, sorry, completed so far. I think if you want to really make the softs work, you're going to have to make sure that you have about maybe 20 laps left in the race, as Northway now comes into the lane from what was third and will fall back into 5th now. And we'll see if J.M. Thomas is able to overtake him. He does. David Turnbull does as well. Northway, interesting decision. Apparently he has gone for the hard tyre. And as he comes out of the lane, well, still shows up as yellow, but trust me, he is on the hard tyre. That is an interesting decision to make, because that's half the race done on mediums, half the race done on hards.
It opens the door to whether Cam's willing to try something a bit crazy like that, because he's got 14 seconds currently back to Blake Neck, who's jumped Sam Sutton in all of this racing news. Actually, producer Jay Kennedy here able to show you visually on the timing tower the compounds currently selected, or currently on the cars of the drivers, despite the fact that, well, the starting compounds for those, so if we go to Dan Stevens, we know is on hards because his car visually shows up as being on hards. But for those who have gone into the pits and changed tyre compounds, unfortunately, yes, it's all showing up as whatever they started the race on, which means that we don't get to see the red wall on Blake Neck's car. But yes, you can see here through on Sam Sutton, and does his personal valid best of the race. And you can see while Cam Dance has got himself back into the 107s, still closing at over a second per lap here, Reese. So unless Cam's trying some absolutely crazy strat of running his mediums as long as he can, get into a range where he either thrashes the hards or even gambles on an ultra-conservative run home on a set of softs, well, this could be something to obviously keep our eyes on, because we're past the point I would have thought where you'd go for the 1-stop on hards, because you would have tried to push on the mediums and then push on the hards for good measure. This feels like it's a play to make some kind of unexpected, ultra-conservative 1-stop strategy work, as he's picking up pace, though, once again, into the 107s and a mid-107 at that, plus DRS off of Daniel Stevens. He's finally caught, and will put him down a lap, as we're being told of a replay race. Thomas Hins, after having to go and take a fast repair. Thankfully, that's just a little bit of a lock-up and deep and nothing major. Means that he'll get away without too much fuss, but just a bit of lost time there for that one. As we check back in now with see J.M. Thomas in behind him at 1.6 seconds, looking to try and catch up. Daniel Stevens has just gone down a lap on the race leader as well, Reese. And Cam Dance picking up all the free DRS on that particular lap to boot as well to help him out.
Yes, indeed. Well then, we have 7 drivers who have yet to come in for a stop in this one. Dance, the leader. David Turnbull in 6th. The quartet of Bowen, Sheridan, Barber and Stevens. And then Jonathan being the last running car on track. Dance still staying out on those medium tyres. This is certainly going to be an interesting drive from Dance if he manages to pull this off. So there's Bowen, still on his opening set of medium tyres. Sheridan still on his mediums, and of course Barber on mediums as well. Alexander Sheridan started from the pits, we should highlight. So considering that he's already done so well in this race so far, Sheridan might be looking at potentially a top 8 if things go his way. And Jonathan Bean, of course, still on the hard set of tyres that he started the race on. Coming up to lap 40 now, and we're on board here with Sam Sutton. When Neck was fresh out of the pits, Sutton, with his tyres already well up to temperature, was trying to make some moves, diving right up to the back of the number 42. But you can see that the softs have really come into their own for Blake Neck now, and he is setting some pretty good times here. Sutton still, though, the fastest car on track last time out. Looks like Neck is not taking as much out of the softs as he could. He's trying to conserve them. Could potentially be running them for the rest of the race at that rate if that's what he's doing.
That would be quite the ambitious strategy. He'd be doing over 35 laps. In fact, well, the simple fact of the matter is he'd be having to do 36 laps. No, not 36. He'd be doing 37. Or 38. One of those ones.
Numbers!
Yeah, look, apparently numbers are hard today. He's already done 6 laps on them, and he's got 32 to go at the line. So you have to do a 38-lap stint. There's your math. Oh, geez, how I ever got through maths methods in high school, apparently that's a mystery. So the likelihood is, yeah, Neck should be doing another stop for softs. Sam Sutton has to stop again because he has not yet changed his compounder tyre. But Cameron Dance is still going 39 laps complete on his opening set of tyres. And he's actually holding pace in the mid to high 107s. Your 2 behind have settled into low 107s. But that means that, well, he's got about 11, 12 laps before they catch him. And if they both have to pit again, Cam Dance goes another 11, 12 laps at this rate. He will have 20 laps to go there or thereabouts.
Yeah, we're just right in the range for how long we expect the soft tyres to last at full chat. So I think Dance, now that he's seen both Neck and Sutton go for the lane, he's just trying to conserve these mediums for the time being and go for that nice short stint on the softs right at the end. Certainly pushing hard there into Remus and making his way up the back stretch towards Schlossgold in clear air at the moment, which is very important for him too. Sam Sutton behind Blake Neck does not have the same luxury. Sutton is within a second of Neck, and while that does give him DRS, it does mean that he's going to have issues with dirty air, as that's Daniel Stevens with another off there. Those hard tyres are not treating him well.
Unfortunately not. And, well, down in 12th place, and teammate Jonathan Bean, the other driver from Middle Finger Racing, on the hard compounded tyre out there and down in 14th place. So unfortunately, Jonathan's pace not quite there tonight from the get-go, and steady as she goes for the most part. As see here, yep, Shane Bowen has just come down the pit lane. He's finally jumping off his opening set of tyres, and he's opted to go to the soft compound with 30 laps of racing remaining. Possibly makes that work here if he's got a gentle foot underneath him here, Reese. Given he stretched the mediums to 40 laps, could he do the softs for 30? Possible, but there's your race leader still going once again and still lapping in the mid 107s, and yeah, only losing 6-7 tenths to these 2 behind him who are trying to catch him. Crucially, there it is. It's now under 10 seconds, and Blake Neck has also broken the gap to Sam Sutton a bit here. Although he locks in inside front through Schlossgold, that will slow his progress just a fraction there and do a bit of extra damage to the tyres for good measure.
Yeah, they just made their way past Scott Newton, who is now a lap down thanks to his early crash and tow, as we check out Turnbull and Northway battling for 6th place. This is the closest battle on track at the moment. And having a look at their tyres here, well, David Turnbull still on the set of tyres he started the race on, and Northway on a fresh set of mediums, only 6 laps old. Hards, sorry. Only 6 laps old at this stage. Getting confused with the colours once again. That's probably going to happen a few more times towards the end of this race. I do apologise. Northway on hard, Turnbull on mediums that he started the race on. And it looks like Northway is rounding him up here. Took 6/10 out of Turnbull on the last lap. As they come across the line again, it's another 3/10 that Robert Northway has on David Turnbull. So we might be looking at a pass here. Turnbull out of the first corner. It's DRS for Robert Northway, and the overspeed comes into effect. He's going to draw alongside into the braking zone, and Turnbull a little bit braver on the brakes, going to try to go a long way around, but Northway with a lot more grip in those tyres at the moment gets it done, and because he was still behind at the activation point, still gets DRS down the straight for his troubles. There's Sheridan coming into the pits, and he's put the softs on.
Yep, 42 laps for him. Still, though, not matched by the race, not matching the race leader, who continues to go around. In fact, Cam Dance actually putting Sheridan a lap down here, thanks to the fact that he continues to go on his opening set of mediums and is still lapping at most half a second to 7/10 off of second place. You can see they're maintaining a very nice rhythm here of between a 107.5 and a 107.8 for the most part here. At the end of these stints is unfortunately Jonathan Bean around on the exit of Schlossgold there. Cam Dance is actually going to arrive on the scene in a moment's time here, and watch out, Jonathan, race leader coming through. Thankfully, plenty of track width there to make that a non-issue by that point on the circuits. Unfortunately, another one of the drivers trying to make the hards go ultra long here in the opening part of the race, and it's not working out for them. At this stage, he's the first driver to now go 2 laps down on the leader here, unfortunately.
Speaking of drivers 1 lap down, Scott Newton's just passed Daniel Stevens for position and made his way up into 12th. Dance avoiding the pits once more. You can see that the times compared to Neck certainly not working in his favour right now. Neck's taking half a second, give or take a 10th out of him every lap. But of course, there still is that threat of an extra pit stop for Neck, and we'll definitely see one for Sutton. There goes Bean finally into the pits as those hard tyres. Actually, it looks like that's a drive-through for Jonathan Bean. He's actually exceeded the incident limit. That's unfortunate there. He'll have to come in to change his tyres shortly, I would imagine. There's Blake Neck, 9.3 seconds to Cameron Dance, and still taking time out of him lap on lap. Neck holds the fastest lap of the race and was the fastest car on track last time around.
It's a good point to make that, but then again, you just saw the on graphic. There wasn't that much time that he was able to take out of it, Cam Dance. It wasn't even 3/10 on that last lap, despite the fact that he's got that compound and tyre life advantage. Dance goes another lap. It's going to be at least 46 laps now on his opening set of tyres. We are coming into the point of the race where he is going to make this quite possibly a one-stop from medium to soft and be able to walk away with this. There's no way surely Blake Neck can manage that set of soft tyres, having come in at the end of lap 34 and get all the way. Actually, no, it was lap 33, apologies, and then go another 38 laps. There is a slowdown for Thomas Hinz elsewhere on circuit, due to pushing a bit wide at turn 1. By the looks of things, means that he's actually got J.M. Thomas directly behind at turn 1 now. So these two able to go scrapping over P4 here up the hill. Does Thomas have enough ERS to close the gap? He's going to not be able to close up, and instead try and set up for the run to Schlossgold here off of turn 3. Tries to get the power down cleanly there, but Hinz able to get enough of a drive off the corner there. Reese to hang on to that spot, it would seem.
Very aggressive on the brakes, though. Here's Thomas, and locks up for his troubles too. Hinze makes it through Schlossgold without much incident. We've had a A bit of a hint come in from our director, Jay Kennedy, about Blake Neck. This stint on the softs, he needs to get a full pit stop's worth of time out of it. Now, we were told beforehand that a full pit stop cycle coming into the lane, going for a stop, coming out, will cost you about 23 seconds. So that's how much Neck has needed to gain on this stint. I do not recall how far behind Dance he was when he came out of the pit lane, but the point still stands that you made before, Dan. He's not quite taking enough time out of Dance for it to work.
I mean, yeah, every lap that he continues to close by, well, in that case, he closes by 8/10 on that last lap. So, again, just the variability of the pace differential as he has good laps and Dance has slightly less good laps on the what seems to be aging set of tyres. But, I mean, yeah, at this point, we're getting to the point where I think Dance is feeling relatively comfortable. He can just go, probably even go longer than Blake Neck would like to, would think is plausible, and then have fresher tyres to the end. As a mistake on the virtual racing school replay from Thomas Hinz allows JM Thomas around the outside up the hill to turn 3 and take that position off him there. A little loose over the curb, of course, unsettling the car that time round as Thomas's teammate Shane Bowen now trying to get up the inside of Gavin Barber, dives late at turn 3.
Damn.
As Barber was that Gavin Barber there that he was passing? He
Yeah.
was going off position. Yeah, that was correct. Just a little slow there for Gavin, who hasn't stopped yet, mind you, though, and is currently running the Cam Dance strat of 46 laps at least on his mediums, but he looks to be very, very slow at the moment, having to maybe gingerly walk that car around. 108.7 for him last time around. I think probably hoping to get to the pits as soon as he can, based on that kind of pace on the mediums at this stage.
Well, Barber's motion rig is certainly getting a workout with the amount of Gs that these 2021 Formula One cars produce. Lovely, smooth, flowing line through the last couple of corners. I love the flow of this track. It seems that Barber just sticking to the inside here across the straight, letting one of our leaders go there. That was Cam, actually. Gavin Barber going a lap down now on that set of mediums and still making it work. We check back in with Thomas Hinz as he tries to catch back up to JM Thomas. Thomas, of course, on tyres that are 8 laps younger, but Hinzy has DRS here and is on the mediums to boot, so these tyres should be able to last a little bit longer. Will he be able to get by JM Thomas at turn 3? DRS is on, and Thomas gives him the inside line for the hairpin, and there goes Hinzy back up the inside. So mistake from earlier, somewhat negated there. Thomas, of course, I think recognising that Hinzy might be just a little faster, but actually not getting DRS there on the way into Schlossgold. Goes wide, very wide. He was so close to slithering off the racetrack there. Well, Hinzy back up into 4th place. Let's see what he can do from here.
Well, clean air now. A chance for Hinz once again to put the foot down as your race leader continues to circulate on his opening set of tyres. The gap is down inside 7 seconds and lost another half a second on the Blake Neckers, continuing to pursue him here, but, well, 50 laps on his opening set of tyres at the end of this one now is what it will be for our race leader, and surely now coming into the range of thrashing out a set of softs, because Blake Neck, he's already got 16 laps on his set of tyres. Meanwhile, independent of all this, trouble for Craig Tilson on the exit of turn 3 there in the 022 machine. Seems to be careful here to get himself back up to speed, and he will indeed, but now a ways back there in P13. Does Cam Dance come to the pits? No. He goes again. This man apparently is the tyre whisperer, and, well, getting some free DRS off of lap traffic to boot on this lap. That'll do his lap times some good here, as we're going to see what happened to Tilson real quick on the replay, thanks to Virtual Racing School.
On the exit of Remus, looked like some spinning of the rears on the way out of the corner, and he was unable to recover it. Kept it out of the barrier, though. Dance makes his way past Shane Bowen there, and will move on through. And if okay, so assuming Blake Neck is going to make another stop before the end and try to make it double soft to the end, if he wants to make that strategy work, he has to catch up to the back of Cameron Dance by the time Dance pits, and he's still 7 seconds behind. Considering that those tyres for Neck are now 17 laps old, I don't think those softs have enough in them to make that work, really. So I think if Dance can continue making these mediums last, he might just have this race in the bag.
I mean, we're coming to the point where we've only got another 4 laps before Cam Dance, and he's going to go again. All right, so he's going to do 50, he gets a 51st lap, or 52nd lap onto these tyres now. So we're 20 laps to go here in this race. There's Blake Neck, so this time across the line, Blake Neck gains half a tenth of a second on that lap.
Goodness.
That's, I mean, now in saying that,
gone.
Cam also had DRS from Shane Bowen through 2 of the zones. As then Sutton, Otis a pit stop still in this race to change the compounds. He goes to the soft tyres now to join Blake Neck. So 20 laps to go. He's confident in his pace here. Can he close the gap to Neck that he lost by going to the mediums on? He can actually straight out of the pit lane, able to activate DRS on the outlap here to try and get up to speed as fast as he can. Back there in P5, but to get through J.M. Thomas and Thomas Hinz to clear the air for him once again in this final phase of the race.
So Sam Sutton, the first driver to commit to a 2-stop strategy. We'll see what Blake Neck does.
Dance is pitting!
Oh, there we go. Dance pits. Here we go then. This is going to be big. Let's see if this works out. Blake Neck is going to go by into the race lead. Now, how much time is he going to be afforded here once Cam comes out of the pits? If there's only 18 laps to go, if Neck's far enough ahead, he might be able to stay on that set of soft tyres, but I think that would be quite the feat. Dance comes out, and it's going to be about 15, 16 seconds to Blake Neck by the time he gets up to speed.
And crucially, I do believe Cam Dance has rejoined the circuit and has quite a lot of clean air. Scott Newton and Alexander Sheridan, the only 2 lap cars in between him and your new race leader. So he's got himself a nice clear track to get up to speed and has to run 19 laps on his set of softs. You can see that Blake Neck is on his 20th lap, and he's still lapping in the high 106s as Blake Neck. So that gives you an idea of what Cam could do here. The question is, does Neck have the pace left in his tyres? Gavin Barber has just come down the lane there, and he joins Cam Dance in doing over 50 laps on his opening set of mediums, and now clears himself to do softs to the end. The question is, what has Cam Dance got left in that car for raw pace? What does Blake Neck have left in that car? 107.3 on that lap for Blake Neck as he crosses 20 laps on his set of softs. But, well, you can see it's going to have to be a 38 lap run on softs. I struggle to see the softs hanging on that long, even if we saw the mediums do 50 odd laps. But I guess we'll wait and see. As another driver on the pit lane is going to be Thomas Hinz, as he needed to come and change his compound in this race. So surely the soft compound for him now to finish this race up. He's joined in the pits by David Turnbull, who also goes 52 laps on his opening set of tyres as well, to switch over to the soft compound as well, I would presume. So it's a soft or hard. There's a few drivers out there trying to make the hard compound work, namely Robert Northway in P5 race. Scott Newton trying to recover a bit in P10, and then the drivers who went hard early in Daniel Stevens and Jonathan Bean doing the opposite, and they're on the softs with everyone else.
Oh,
and there we go.
In for a second stop. Okay, so the gap was at about 14 seconds when he came in. Neck is going to lose the race lead again, but he's going to have a distinct advantage over Dance here, and that is soft tyres that are 2 laps fresher. So he will have a lot more to attack with in this final 18 laps of the race. Through goes Sam Sutton. And actually, looks like Neck is going to come out ahead of him by about 3.6 seconds. So Neck is still safe.
Yeah, just being advised that the gaps haven't moved between Blake Neck and Sam Sutton.
Oh, yes, because Sutton just came in.
Yeah, so Sutton obviously has owed us the pit stop to change his compound. And Josh J.M. Thomas also coming down the pit lane, pushes himself onto a set of softs. Another driver to go 2 stops in this race. In fact, he got 29 laps out of his soft tyres before opting to hand them in for a fresh set. And now, just over a second off Thomas Hinz, and a chance to go after Hinz here for the end of the race. But, well, back at the front of the field, Cam Dance actually did the fastest lap around as Blake Neck was coming in. And but once again, having done that fast lap of the race, Reese, look at his follow-up lap, which was in clean air, but having to recharge the ERS system, drops a full second as Blake Neck is trying to push here. Does a personal best 3rd sector. Sam Sutton behind him goes to a 105.9, but an invalid, well, an off-track lap means that it's technically not the fastest here. But all these drivers now starting to really push on particular laps with the ERS, but then watch their follow-up laps be quite slow in comparison, thanks to the recharging that'll need to be done.
Thomas Hinz, fastest car on track at the moment, 106.19. So Hinzy could still potentially find a way past Robert Northway at the end here. Remember, Northway's on hards that are 20 laps old at the moment. Hinzy on a fresh set of softs. And we check back a bit further up. So, Northway here. Going through in 4th place. Last pit stop on the 36th lap of the race. And he'll easily make those hard tyres last to the end. But he might be under threat from Hinzy if the Victorian is able to get the pace out of those softs. Blake Neck, meanwhile, responds with another 106.19. Cameron Dance's last lap was a 106.3. So Neck is taking little bits of time out of Cam Dance, lap on lap. The gap is now under 5 seconds for the race lead. It's still on.
Yeah, it was a personal best from Cam Dance, but I think we're going to see this back and forth between these two, depending on where their ERS systems are at and who can find the extra little bit of maximum pace. I think both drivers are feeling confident, it would seem, to the end here, that they can push this set of tyres pretty hard all the way. And so it's a matter of just who can exercise best pace for the most number of laps. As we check back in with Robert Northway, our lone driver in the top 4, currently running on the hard compounded tyre. We're informed he's been a bit of head shaking from the driver here at the 46. So we'll see what that comes out to be. Obviously out of strategy with the rest of the field when it comes to a one-stop plan, having done 35 laps, or pretty much the opening half of the race on his set of mediums, and then opting to go hards and make the early switch, which may not work out for him, as there's Thomas Hinz, the next man down the road, and gap between them two is still at just under 10 seconds now, Reese, and closing at a second per lap at this rate for the 53 machine. And look at that there for consistency when it comes to lap-on-lap gains. That might just be why Northway is starting to shake his head.
Yeah, indeed. Northway stands a chance, half a chance here, of losing 4th place by the end. That Hinzy will likewise have the issue of his softs burning up a little bit quicker. Tyre wear is pretty low around here, so the softs and the mediums have generally been the tyre to go for, as we discussed before the race. But we still have that attribute of the softs coming down in pace after a short time. Neck, meanwhile, that's the time that he's been taking out of Dance. Average of about 0.2 per lap, and the gap is at 4.5 seconds. So we divide that by 12 laps to go once they complete this one. Yeah, Neck's probably going to have to start taking potentially 0.3 out of Dance per lap if he wants to be on the back of him by the end of the race.
And just guess who got DRS for 2 of the 3 zones on this lap? Your race leader puts Alexander Sheridan a lap down, as Craig Tilson, after coming in just before the halfway point, doing 25 laps on a set of softs. That's the second longest we've seen out of a set of soft tyres in this race, but he throws the white flag there and gets himself on another set of tyres and into 13th places. That was Dance using all of the track limits there. This will be a quick lap, but will surely be invalid. 106.203. Yeah, was an off track there at the final turn. Blake Neck continuing to apply the pressure though. 106.0 for him. So, well, it's again another 10th of a second, but he's going to need a bit more than that, as you were saying there, Reese, to make inroads. He will have traffic here in Sheridan. It'll be his turn to get some DRS as Scott Newton down onto the lane once again. He opts to get off the hards onto a set of mediums to finish this race off and rejoins the circuit here in, I believe, it'll be 11th place ahead of Daniel Stevens and trying to see if he can chase down Gavin Barber. He's got 8 seconds. In fact, he's got 8 seconds either side to the middle finger cars around him here. So top 10 for Scott Newton still might be on if he can push those mediums and catch up to Barber, who's got 7 laps on his softs already in this race.
All right, we'll get another opportunity to compare times here. Next going to get DRS here on, I believe that's Bowen, just up ahead of him. And we'll see what the times are across the line. Cameron Dance does his first 1:05 of the race, and so does Blake Neck. And there was only a difference of 0.06 of a second, 0.07 even by this overlay timing. So it looks like Neck might have been experiencing some dirty air running behind Bowen there that has stymied his pace a little bit. It's becoming more and more difficult for him to take time out of Dance now.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Dance, I think, is sort of playing the game of he will do laps where he dumps ERS into the car and then we'll go for a build lap. So we sort of see a bit of ebb and flow from him. We've seen it a bit from Blake Neck, but in this stage of the race, it's been a little bit more progressive and more spaced out and just sheer pace through the cornering rather than deploying huge amounts of hybrid, I would have wagered. As we see him come out of turn 8 there on the circuit. We're being told to consider Shane Bowen and Alexander Sheridan, I think it was, yes, needing to pit the tyres. And that would make sense because both those drivers have done, well, 20 laps and 18 laps respectively on their sets of soft tyres currently. And, well, that's going to be a bit of work as, oh boy, how about that for a fastest lap of the race. Reese takes 7/10 out of Cam Dance. He's able to push that car so hard, and he's not, it's as if he's not using the ERS, unless this time around this is his build lap where he needs to then go and recharge for a while. We'll have to wait and see, but the gap now under 3 seconds thanks to a monumental lap there, taking almost all the time there from the last little while in one go, like so.
Yeah, that is stonking pace from Blake Neck on that lap, full deploy for sure, and the quickest time that we've seen pretty much all night. The fastest lap in practice was Sam Sutton, 1:05.9. Of course, there's going to be a lot less fuel in the cars now with only 10 laps to go. They only have about 10 kilos on board. So it makes sense that we are seeing those fastest times here at the very end when the drivers have to push. It looks like it was another 9/10 there taken out of Cam Dance. 107.3 for Dance, 106.4 for Neck. Dance definitely recharging his ERS there at the moment, but Neck is going full chat. And you can see him looming in the back of shot now. The gap's down to 2 seconds. Neck could look at being in DRS range in a couple of laps.
I'll make it, mate. 2 laps tops at this rate. As Cam Dance, I think, yeah, the charge lights seem to be on a huge amount of the time for your race leader, and that just tells me at this point in the race, he's decided he's tried to put the pressure on Neck, but Neck's gone with him, and obviously with the slight tyre advantage, and when it comes to life, has decided that, well, both of them actually, okay, on this lap now, you can see both drivers seem to have stabilized, maybe both going to the ERS build here, but maybe Dance opting to stay on the build deployment for the most part now and be ready to receive the attack from Blake Neck, maybe even give up the lead at some point perhaps, and then look to switch back as we await the lap times from lap 63. Oh boy, again.
Oh my
It's telling us that another almost second. And in fact, lap on lap, it's continuing to increase ever so slightly when it comes to the gains that he's making here, Reese.
Yeah, I think Cam might be just running a more balanced ERS at the moment, trying to save up some charge for a final charge in the last few laps. So this race is certainly not over yet. Still got 8 laps to go. And Thomas Hinz to Robert Northway is down to 4 and a bit seconds at the moment. And Hinzy was catching Northway at about a second a lap last time I was looking at him. So we might see a pass for 4th coming very shortly too.
Yeah, I'm curious to watch that now. I think on this lap, the gap for the leaders started to stall out. It looks to have stabilized in a very meaningful sense. It's, well, a 10th and a half, or almost a 2/10 on that lap. So there we go. Neck having to back off the pace and then Dance going to a bit more of a moderate setting there. So only 1/10 now, but, well, 3-4 laps at 1 to 2/10 for Blake Neck puts him in the DRS range, and then he'll just get drawn up to the rear, and we're going to have ourselves a 5-lap duel between these two. Sam Sutton, unfortunately for him, is still 8 seconds off the race lead and no signs of getting himself into that fight, which means that it's become a two-way stoush, or going to be a two-way fight between these two here to figure out if the one-stop strategy and just pushing the car all the way to the end, or the two-stopper. One-stop is the conservative strategy, two-stop here from Blake Neck, the aggressive strategy tonight. Which of them is going to be beneficial as we come to the end of lap number 65, and 6 to go at the line. Looks steady-ish between us, but again, there's several turns where all of a sudden it's like goes from 1.4 down to 1.2, and in fact, another near 4/10 gained by Blake Neck. He is coming quickly. It's just gaining a lot of time on corner exits, it seems. Dance will get a bit of a free hit here with some DRS up the hill of turn 3, Reese, that Blake Neck isn't even going to get out of Remus here. But, well, again, watch this off of the corner here. 1.3 seconds again. He's coming, and he's going to have DRS, I reckon, by the end of the next lap at the latest.
Yeah, I would say that's a good prediction to make, and we've seen just how advantageous DRS is as well. Hinz on Northway, meanwhile, it's still working out to about 3 seconds. Hinzy's just made his way past one of the MFR machines there. A lap down, some DRS for the machine there, driven by Gavin Barber, who has managed to make those softs work nicely for himself. He's 1.4 seconds ahead of Scott Newton, though, who we saw was going for that second stop and doing mediums to the end. So every chance that we might see a change for position for 10th as well in the last few laps. It's another 2/10 taken out of Cameron Dance for Blake Neck. Just coming up on the verge of getting into DRS range. We'll see if he manages to get the light here on the exit. No, he doesn't. He's just outside it. He's going to have to push a little bit harder here if he wants to get that extra boost.
He got inside the detection. Well, if the detection point was after the corner, you can see now he got in on the exit of turn 3. But, of course, the detection point is on the way up under brakes into turn 3 here. So now this is critical. Through this mid-sector of the circuit, he's now well and truly inside. Would have to lose 0.3 of a second to swing back out, and through there, that looks nice and controlled. Here we go. As I said, end of lap 67. He's going to have a chance to go at the race leader, and there is that magic light on his wheel. He finally is rewarded and opens the wing down the front stretch. 4 laps of racing to go here, Reese, and it is going to be a titanic two-way stoush between these two. What does our race leader have now that he's got this car directly behind him here, coming at full speed?
Dance almost broke the draft for a second there. Neck not close enough to get it done into Remus, but he will have DRS once more on the way down to Schlossgold. Oh, a little bit of a slide on the exit though for Neck. Momentum briefly lost there, but you see him gain it back at the end of the straight. This is where Cam Dance has been slowest out of turn 3 and turn 4. Throttle application not his friend there, but seems that it's keeping him nicely within the window now to keep Blake Neck behind as we come up to the final couple of corners. That was a bit of understeer for Cam coming out of the fast left-handers. Let's see what he can do coming through the last couple corners here, using all of the road and then some, just keeping it within track limits. Neck with an ever so slight slide on the way out of the final corner. Dance is now seeing that the draft needs to be broken. Neck still has DRS on the way out. They keep it nice and stable on the way out of turn 1. Is this going to be the place where Neck makes the pass? Dance is moving all over the racetrack here just to try and give Neck as little of an advantage as possible. I think Neck now is pacing himself potentially to get a move done in the last lap or so. We only have 3 to go, so time is rapidly running out here for Neck. There we go. Look at the run that he's got here, and he's going to go up the inside of turn 4. Dance is going to give him room there on the inside, put the power down a little better, and keep him behind. But will Neck have some ERS here to get up the inside of the left-handers? He will, but they're going to go side by side here. Will Dance be able to stay ahead? Oh, God, he's out in the marbles. Not much grip out there, but he's going to maintain it here. He's going to have the inside, but Neck, deploying a little more, gets that speed boost and into the lead.
Has been recharging most of this lap. Watch for a counter-attack potentially here. He now gets his turn with the DRS, and he's still building, I think. This is going to be a case of now, sit here for a lap, use the DRS to keep close, keep building up. So use the DRS to keep close. There's a little wobble on the exit of 1. Won't help him there, but keep building your electrical energy for an all-out attack on the final lap with the DRS in your back pocket as well. Between these two guys, into Remus we go. Who gets the run off the turn here? And I think, again, in Cam's case, he's not too fussed on this particular lap. He's willing to let that one slide there a little bit because he'll get sucked back along. Meanwhile, the fight for P4 is going to be on here at the end of this lap, I reckon. Thomas Hin's coming for Robert Northway's position there. Going to have that DRS. No, not open on that particular lap. Apologies there. He's close, but he needs to be, he'll be in detection range this time by here out of turn 3. And now he can set his sights on going for an attack on the final lap. Meanwhile, your race leaders come out of turn number 8. Cam Dance, 4/10 back in closing. He's getting ready now, surely, to put it all in for one final run here. 3 DRS activation points to come here. It's going to be Blake Neck who takes the white flag, but it's a two-way stoush for the lead here in our international division of the Austrian Grand Prix and the pro class as well here for the major series. Cam Dance, 4/10 of a second. What has he got here on this final lap for Blake Neck? In fact, where is the DRS? There it is, a bit late out of turn 1 race.
Yeah, he might be lining it up for a run out of Remus. He's going to have to nail the brakes and the throttle on the way out. He's on the rear diffuser of Blake Neck on the way out. Slide on the exit. Neck uses more of the circuit, more of the curbs. Dance, though, with DRS, is he going to have enough? It doesn't look like it. He's going to go for the late dive, though, and take Neck by surprise. Neck locks up, but stays ahead. This is fantastic. Wondering if Dance is going to have anything. There's no DRS until the end of the lap here. Dance goes wide. He goes wide, and the left-hander, I think that is battle over now for Cam Dance. He gets into the gravel as well and nearly loses it. So, with just a couple of corners to go, Blake Neck getting the strategy done perfectly as Hins now getting up the inside of Northway. Out of the final corner comes Blake Neck. The aggressive strategy worked. He played that fantastically. But it's not over in terms of position for everybody out on circuit. Robert Northway still has a couple of corners here to defend from Thomas Hins. There isn't going to be much in the way of DRS for Hinsey, but he is on the ERS deployment. Something fierce. Could he make a move out of the final corner? No, I don't think so. Just manages to get behind Northway, and Robert puts the power down and will just defend 4th place. That was a pretty fantastic battle, I have to say, and Scott Newton will finish in 10th place. He passed Gavin Barber only a lap or 2 ago, but there's our winner. Blake Neck, just a fantastic drive. Cam Dance, though, can't take anything away from him. He tried his best to make that one-stop strategy work, and he certainly looked like he would have had a big chance of winning that race. Across the line is going to come David Turnbull, meanwhile, joint with Alexander Sheridan for most positions gained in the race, up 4 places, and I think a very well-earned 7th.
Yeah, it is a good job for him. And, well, with David across the line, that was the last driver to take the flag for the race tonight. And, chance to try and walk ourselves through the results here, Reese, and just try and process what we just were able to witness there. And I think fantastic to see that despite the fact the hard tyre tonight very rarely used, and to be honest, apart from Robert Northway, not particularly successful in its application, I'd have to say. But the fact we got to see some two-stop strategies from drivers using mediums and softs versus a one-stop strategy for drivers on the mediums and the softs, and the fact it came down to the very last lap and commitment there from Cam Dance before, unfortunately, it just didn't quite come together at the end. Your results, though, are as follows. Blake Neck gets himself the win here tonight, and despite the fact that he started from pole, certainly had to work for it there. Cam Dance, a well-deserved second place, not quite able to pull it off there in the end. Sam Sutton going for the double mediums, unfortunately seems to have not worked for him tonight, race. He will settle for a third place finish, and then Robert Northway, you can see just over 2.5 tenths, or just under 2.5 tenths, all that separated him from Thomas Hinz at the end of that race. Joshua M. Thomas not able to quite go with Hinzy in the final stint. He will have to settle for P6, and then David Turnbull, your last man on the lead lap, in 7th, and then Shane Bowen, Alexander Sheridan, Scott Newton, and then over the page there was also Gavin Barber and Daniel Stevens, all one lap down, 8th through 12th respectively for those drivers. Craig Tilson there unfortunately finishes 2 laps short, and Jonathan Bean 3 laps down on your leaders in the end of it all. And that wraps up your 14 drivers who took to the grid tonight. And sure, it's a small field. We've seen bigger fields this year because, of course, combining the pro and the sportsman divisions here in the international region of the majors so far this year, race for the most part, but, well, didn't need to have a full field of drivers to put on a good show tonight.
Indeed. Goodness gracious, that was a pretty frenetic race, but the next round is going to be our next wild card of the season. It is Modified Mayhem, and here in the international region, we're going to be running the Dirt UMP modified car. Euro and Americas are going to be running the 358 and the Big Block modifieds. So a few different classes of car over the course of the weekend of 20th of August at Weed Sport Raceway. Of course, one more time we want to say please lend your support to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, looking after first responders in the US and their families. Go to t2t.org to lend your support. We will see if any of the drivers show up here to have a chat, but I think, honestly, Dan, that was a pretty brilliant night of racing. A lot better than I expected, because this kind of car and this kind of car and track combination, it's usually out of the wheelhouse of a lot of these drivers. Of course, the likes of Blake Neck are quite familiar with it, but man, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the drivers tackle Weed Sport in a month or so's time. We're going to wrap it up there and say goodbye to you all. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in across the world here on SimSpeed TV on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. You can follow us and like us on those various social platforms. We're also at SimSpeed TV on Twitter if you want to chuck us a follow over there. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman alongside me in the comms box, and Jay Kennedy bringing you all the pictures behind the scenes. From all of us at SimSpeed TV, we say bye for now, but certainly not forever.
This is your chance to get behind the wheel. The opportunity to race just like the pros. From the grassroots levels, where we all got our start, to the most popular race cars on the planet. From the fairgrounds of Nashville to the high banks of Daytona, to tracks that will never be forgotten. Realistic driving, intense competition, all from the comfort of your own home. This is the ultimate motorsports simulation. This is iRacing.